Happy Mother's Day, everybody. I hope everybody is having a good Mother's Day, getting to do what you want to do at home. Like I told you last week, since it is Mother's Day, I wanted to talk about mothers. And Eve is the one who came to my mind. So we're going to talk about Eve just for a few minutes. And I got this idea from another one of Julia Betancourt's devotionals. So I kind of changed it up a little bit, but I took her idea because I really liked it. And she starts off and says, and Adam called his wife's name Eve because she was the mother of all living. And that is in Genesis 3, verses 20. There are people all over the world, past and present, who have wanted to be the first at something. First to reach a high mountaintop, first man in space, first person to do this or to do that. Eve was the first mother. I wonder how things must have been like for her becoming a mother. Being the first mother must have made it very interesting for Eve. Because of Eve's sin, we all know that there is pain in childbirth, but she still was the very first to go through it, and how that must have been for her. She didn't have Lamaze classes that she could attend. She didn't have any pregnancy books or even a doctor. No yearly checkups for her. Now, some of you all will be like, yes, that's great. Just think, no epidurals. Eve didn't have anyone with her when Cain was born telling her that, Eve, it's okay. Women have been doing this for thousands of years. You're going to make it. It's going to be okay. Eve didn't have that. She had no birthing coach. There wasn't even another mother in the room that could be here, that could help her. Not a midwife, not a mother-in-law, nobody, not her mother. She didn't have one. She was the first woman. No nurse at the hospital to wait on her and bring her first baby boy to her when he wanted to be fed. No one to take care of her other than Adam. And, well, he was the first husband. He was new. He was a new father, newly married. We all know it takes time to be a good husband and a good father. I just wonder how he did and how Eve made it. Eve didn't have any books to read on how to rear children, what to do, what to expect, who to call, when to call. No famous child psychologist to fill her ears with all sorts of theories on childbearing. No friends she could share and discuss her children with. And I'm going to tell you, I will be lost if I didn't have friends or someone to call. And many of you all I have called and said, oh, Austin did this, or Elizabeth did this, or Matt did this. What do I do? I would be lost. Eve had none of that. No other mothers to talk to while her boys played at the neighborhood park. No online support groups. She had to figure it out all on her own and how to do it all on her own. Poor Eve. She didn't even have a Babies R Us to go to. Can you imagine? Now, we don't have Babies R Us anymore, but she didn't have a Walmart. She didn't have anywhere to go for all her needs. She didn't have a babysitter to keep her kids so her and Adam could get away for a date night. Eve didn't have a mom she could call up and ask advice from. So, Eve was different, and we can learn a lot from Eve. The Bible mentions Eve's son, which we know are Cain, Abel, and Seth. The Bible also says in Genesis 5:4 that Adam and Eve had other sons as well. We don't know how many, and we don't know what age Eve lived to be, but we do know in Genesis 5, verse 5, that Adam lived until he was 930 years old. I'm sure among all this, Eve must have enjoyed her children like most mothers do. I'm confident that Eve had wonderful moments with her first 3 boys and with her other children when they were babies, toddlers, and small children growing up, as we all do with our children, and then they grow up. I'm sure Eve has some beautiful memories throughout her life. Of course, Eve also saw heartache resulting from her children. The first murder happened by her son. And it was her son killing her other son. That had to weigh heavily on Eve. I do not envy her task of having to be the first mother to bury one of her children. How could some of us handle being in Eve's situation? I want to talk about 5 situations and how Eve handled them, and maybe we should handle them the same way, or maybe we should change them. But we're going to see in all this that if we put God first, we can handle these. The first situation is, how do we handle being tempted? Like Eve, we are all human and subject to being tempted to sin. We don't have a beautiful garden with some fruit hanging from a tree and we were told to stay away from it. But we do have that tempting fruit that's hanging all around us and just calling out to us to look at, to be desired, to pick it, to taste of it. We have to be so careful not to be caught up in it. Are we good at handling that temptation, or do we give in? Sometimes we're good for a little while and then we give in. Sometimes we're not good at all. We just give into whatever it may be, and it could be a variety of things. How do we handle being tempted? Who do we turn to? The second situation is, how do we handle being a wife? Eve was Adam's helpmeet. In Genesis 2, verses 18, "And the Lord God said, It is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him." So we are to help our husbands. Are we doing that? We don't know exactly what kind of wife she was, but we do know that if we are married, being the kind of wife we need to be takes some work. Do we build our husband up, or do we tear him down? What about our kids? If I'm constantly on Matt of something I don't like, or say he has a shirt I don't like and it's his favorite shirt, and I'm constantly on him, "Why don't you throw that away? You look terrible." What are Austin and Elizabeth learning? Elizabeth's looking at me and learning how I'm being treated and how I'm treating Matt. Austin's looking at Matt, seeing how he should treat me and how he should treat Elizabeth. What am I teaching my children if I'm ugly to my husband? And it may not be words. It may be Matt asks me to do something and I just don't do it. It's not important to me. I don't care. So it's going on the back burner. He'll never know. But then when I ask Matt to do something, buddy, he better be Johnny on the spot and do it. No, we can't be that way. We are to be a helpmeet to our husbands. The third situation, how do we handle being a mother? Eve, our first mother, had to go through all the stages of motherhood that we do. We just aren't given any details of how she interacted with her children or what type of mother she was. If you're a mother, what kind of mother are you? If you're not a mother, what kind of friend are you? What kind of person are you? I doubt any of us are a perfect mother, friend, person, but are we willing to be the best mother, friend, person, wife that we can be? Are we loving? Are we forgiving? Big thing in my house right now. Stuff gets broken all the time. And I shouldn't say all the time, but some stuff has been broken, more so since Austin came along. But how do I react? Do I get so angry that I scar my child, that I scream at him so much he doesn't want to come around me? Or am I that forgiving? Even though it hurts deep down inside, am I that forgiving? And I read a story this week, and a friend of mine, her child had spilt some orange juice on the table. Usually she flies off the handle, gets upset, yells, but she didn't. She calmly swept it up, cleaned it up, and told her child, you know, everybody has not mistakes, but makes a mess sometimes. She went to the grocery store later that day, bought the last gallon of orange juice, walked in the door, dropped that gallon of orange juice all over the floor, lost almost the entire gallon of orange juice. Nobody made her do it. Nobody pushed her, anything. It happens. And her child saw this. The very child that just spilt their orange juice that morning came and helped her clean it up and said, "It's okay, Mom. Everybody makes messes." Now that's a good situation. Now in my household with Elizabeth, if I would have snapped at her because she spilled her milk and I had walked in and spilled my milk, she'd be the first one in that kitchen telling me, "See, Mom, you shouldn't have yelled at me. You do the same thing." This is how we handle our circumstances. Are we forgiving? There are so many areas that revolve around being a mother that it usually is a process to be the mother we'd like to become. A lifelong process. How are you doing in your motherly, wifely, friend role? Another situation I want to talk about is, how do we handle heartbreak? Eve was the first to have a handle on a mother's heartbreak from her children. Knowing one son lashed out in anger against the other in such a way had to be tough. Heartbreak from your children can be such a blow to any mother. I know several mothers, good Christian mothers, who've raised their children in the ways of the Lord, but yet their children don't come to church. they have gone away from Christ. They're living in a way that breaks that mother's heart. It can bring grief to a mother. You may not even be a mother, but you can still hurt, right? We all hurt at some time. Unstable relationships and circumstances may be weighing you down with some tremendous pressure. Are we trusting the Lord to get us through? Or again, are we turning to worldly things to get us through? The last thing I want to talk about is how do we handle our sorrow? What pain and sorrow Eve must have felt when her son Abel died at the hands of his brother Cain. I guess Adam and Eve were the first to shed tears over losing a loved one as well as being among some other first. When sorrow enters our life, it can be overwhelming. Do we rest in the Lord to console us? Or again, do we turn to other things? In conclusion, although Eve's life seems so far away from us and long ago, she was still a woman. And she went through all the things we do. The emotions, the feelings, the childbirth, the motherhood, the childbearing, the death, the grief, the loss. She went through it all first. Eve was the first woman and mother and wife to go through it all. I think we don't need to worry about concentrating on any of our first ourselves, but we should concentrate on who we keep first in our lives. When we keep Christ first, it is then we begin to handle our lives like they should be handled. It is then we are the wife, the mother, the friend that the Lord wants us to be. It's then that we are better able to deal with any temptations that come our way. It's then that we rest in the Lord and rely on Him for comfort and consolation. If we put Christ first, we can handle the temptations, being the best wife, mother, friend. We can handle the heartbreak. We can handle the sorrow. So, is Christ first in your life? I hope you all have had a great Mother's Day, and I can't wait to see you all again